everyone, we're back with another long anticipated dungeon revamp in EverQuest Legends. I'm just going to go ahead and let you know right away that I think at first glance you're going to be disappointed with this one. There aren't any new cool or useful occultations for the most part, but there are a couple of cool things for aesthetics. And after I looked at the items in entirety and processed it, I do feel like they did a good job of plugging some holes in existing gear struggles at this stage in the game. I don't really see anything as good as some of the stuff that you'll find in the basement of a Fallen, but Unrest is a big favorite zone, and a lot of people don't really need an excuse to come out here. They just love coming to Unrest. It's nostalgic. It's great EXP. It's always been great at EXP, and now it's going to be even better. And now you're going to be able to get some drops while you're here that actually feel a little more meaningful than the classic drops. There was a note in the patch notes that said that some items would be improved. For the most part, that I didn't find that to be the case, but there were, I think, 3 exceptions, so we'll get into it. Right away, we're going to take a look at this guy, a Gnomish Spelunker. He's a little off the beaten path. This is the guy that spawns down in the cave with Sarah, who I think is for the Bard Epic, but he drops a couple of new items, Repurposed Pickaxe and Spelunker's Headlamp. Just a note about him, you're not going to take a faction hit when you kill this guy, so that's great. You know, Repurposed Pickaxe looks pretty mundane at first glance, but that ratio, 0.3, so like that's not that much different than a short sword of the Akisha. I do think that this is a pretty good item for a low-level melee that doesn't have better stuff yet. Biggest downside about this, in my opinion, is 50 delay. I don't like that. I kind of like for my weapons to be a bit faster, especially low-level when you're hitting those damage caps. Having to eat 50 delay kind of sucks, but overall, I don't think the pickaxe is that bad. And then we also have the Spelunker's Headlamp, which is fine. You know, I think this is a fine item. It's got stamina, which everybody needs. Play classes are going to enjoy this pretty decent AC as well. And the graphic on that is not too bad. Can't tell if that's bronze gold or Afridi gold, but either way, it's pretty cool, and I like that they used a bright color for the headlamp, keeping it on theme. All right, moving along. Undead Brewer. So this is the guy outside of main room that previously didn't drop anything. So now he drops a couple of items. He drops Brewer's Bracer and Brewer's Mittens. Both of these items are fine. This is the last first floor mob. They improved his existing 2 drops, Pugius and Gladius, and just added a proc to him. The Rising Dexterity proc on this is, as you probably guessed, a dexterity buff, and in Gladius has Laceration, which you probably recognize from the claws from Blackburrow. Moving up to the second floor, they added this to the reanimated hand loot table, Rhodium Band. This is basically a miniature version of the ring from Lower Gut, from the reanimated hand down there, but that 5 save magic, maybe it's fine for a charm pet loadout, at least until you get better stuff. So Undead Barkeep. So thick leather apron, existing item, they add 15 haste to it. This is another data point that kind of is convincing me that they're not really interested in revamping this dungeon for people that have already made the lap to 50. This is really for players that, you know, they're new to the game, and this is, you know, they're coming out to Unrest at EXP maybe by themselves or with some friends, and they can actually get some items that frankly melee classes sorely need at this stage of the game. And I also think it'd be interesting, like in the future, if EverQuest Legends does any sort of kind of like server reset concept, like a time lock progression server. I think this stuff is going to be great as you're leveling. In the same room as the Barkeep, you have the Zombie of an Unrest Noble. Added 2 new items to her loot table. Curse Blade, which is just a fine sword. It's got a good ratio. You know, this is, I think, the same ratio as Short Sword of the Yakisha. I don't like -5 stamina, but that's the type of thing that will go away as you level it up. And then the Dark Plate Leggings, hard requirement, plate fighters only, Warrior Paladin and Shadow Knight, not even Bard can wear these. These do have a pretty neat looking black graphic. You may recognize this guy up on the second floor near the Fireplace camp. He's in a room by himself. Normally you just avoid this guy. You do take a faction hit for this guy, but it is with a faction that you don't need to unlock Gnome, so that's something you don't really need to avoid him unless you care about pissing off the Gnome Necro Guild. These are the 2 items he drops. The Scaredy Cap, I love the name, but I think the Scaredy Cap is the only exaltation from here that may be useful late game. And then, of course, we have the Shawl of Less Than Invisibility. It's kind of funny that there's a little bit of an invisibility theme here. It is kind of interesting that the Scaredy Cap does not allow magicians to wear it. Finally, the Priest of Magina. This is the last mob that had new items added to their loot table. They had 2 new items added to their loot table. These are pretty good pants. Ancient Spur and Waistcoat, you know, they have what you need, stamina and wisdom if you're playing these classes. And the classes are kind of interesting, right? With an improved healing occultation, you know, that's going to be useful for early game. And then finally, my favorite item to come out of here is the Ancient Spurn Ooh, Ferraiolo? I don't know. Okay, it's a robe. It's a robe with pretty mediocre stats, but it has a jet black graphic. This is an awesome Fashion Quest edition, and that's the Miss Moore update. Let me know what you think in the comments. Like I said, I thought that this was pretty mediocre at first, but the more I thought about it, I think it does serve a purpose. It just doesn't serve a purpose for me and for probably many of y'all. All right, thanks.